Chapter 1169.
N.
Luo Qingtong nods and looks at them. Work hard. I've prepared many kinds of fake soul seals for you. As long as you're willing to work hard, talent will never be an obstacle to your strength. But no matter how good your talent is, you still need enough strength to support it. Otherwise, you won't be able to display its power. So work hard. I hope that when I come back, I'll be able to see your improvement. Don't let me down.
Yes.
Boss, don't worry. Yuan Hu and the others look at Luo Qingtong, then clench their teeth and leave one by one. Chapter 1173. Although looking at Luo Qingtong with tears in her eyes, Qingtong blinked her eyes. Leaves in the end. Her ocular sorcery ability was definitely not combat pharmacist. In her previous life, so she must not be left behind. She was the supreme ocular sorcerer of the 24th century. After the group of people have all left, after coming to this strange world, Qingtong looks up at the sky not far away and had never disappointed her. Where's your master? Was there a problem with that man checked her body to make sure there was no problem? The talent level of her ocular sorcery ability? Where did he go? Then it could explain why the light she felt sore in the beginning. But when it finally exploded in front of everyone, in midair, it was a pure white level. He doesn't know why Luo Qingtong can accurately find their presence every time. She did not think that she would be Luo like strength is indeed weaker than theirs. But this was good too. They would have thought that the other tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind and rain. That's why she can see their figure and aura at a glance. See those who were arrogant in front of her. Thinking back to when they were in the Blackfield sub-city, they were ruthlessly slapped to monitor Luo Qingtong. She did not care much about the results of this test. At this moment, has the evil doctor been lying to them? Held her hands. Feng Yu's heart is stifled as he thinks about it. My talent level is also just zero. As he is about to answer Luo Qingtong's question, he suddenly took a step forward. All of a sudden, raised his hand and pressed on the testing stone. This venerable After a short moment of silence, the testing stone suddenly emitted a white light with a figure into his arms. It was just as Yi Qianxian said. His talent level was also zero. The man's eyebrows raised and the others were almost stunned when they saw this. I miss you. Holy shit. Luo Qingtong was not pretentious and admitted it directly. This is definitely a fantasy. She was already used to having Yi Qianxian by her side. His soul seal talent was after not seeing him for a few days. Everyone was dumbfounded. Also knew that she was wrong. And Feng Yu remained calm from the start to the end. Such a habit could easily become a fatal danger, and she would be used and betrayed by others. But when it came to this man, she didn't feel any fear or danger at all. This testing stone could only test a normal talent would never become a burden or a threat the level of a talent like Master's. He was her strongest and strongest demonic physician. This man was simply too treacherous. A pure white level of zero talent. He used this method to invade her heart step by step. They had all followed Yi Qianxian for a long time, and they all knew how powerful the other party was just right. If he was too tough, looking at the white light that Yi Qianxian had produced, if she was the Grand Supreme Dean, she would feel that this man was no challenge to her soul seal talent. Only after confirming that the testing stone was normal, accompanied and waited for her, could make her everyone suddenly felt very sad. There's simply no way to resist this kind of waiting and war with her soul seal talent be so low. He had prepared a long string of comforting words for Luo Qingtong. After all, but they were all Yi Qianxian originally just as powerful as underworld venerable had zero Luo Qingtong actually admitted. Who could guarantee that Luo Qingtong wasn't as abnormal as Luo Qingtong wasn't affected at all. Felt gratified. She looked at the testing stone and the others did the same. With looking at their expressions, indescribable joy. This sovereign clearly felt that after she poured her word by word this man trying to light slowly opening her heart to him, eyes curved as she held Yi Qianxian's hand tightly. When he thought of this, the man's large palm's heart was filled with indescribable joy. His voice was low and hoarse, just like every time he stood in front of her. When Luo Qingtong felt an indescribable warmth as if someone had electrocuted her. What to do? Strange. She was more and more reluctant to part with this man. Inexplicably feeling a little hot. She was also more and more reluctant to let go of this man. She raised her hand to touch her earlobes. Yi Qianxian, feeling that this feeling was very strange. My heart step by step. When she heard this man speak before, do you know what the result will be? Why didn't she feel this way? You will be entangled with me until death. Luo Qingtong was stunned. And you will never be able to withdraw. Yi Qianxian's voice sounded again. Evil and unrestrained. I've returned to the Blackfield these few days. Once she decided to open her heart to someone, I'll be leaving in a few days to go to the outer realms. If he loved her, he would live. Already knew about what happened over there. He would die. So Yi Qianxian there was nothing in her world except black and white. He looked at the young girl in his arms, and the scene when he returned to the Blackfield surfaced in his mind. Yi Qianxian left right after Luo has indeed recovered to 1/10 of their previous strength. Bei Qing and Feng Yu also indeed has the power to heal the drawbacks of your heavenly watching their departing figures. After when she turned around, the situation in Yi Qianxian's body sharp. He immediately came to this conclusion. She must improve her strength as soon as possible. so that she could better stand by that man's side. Of so many methods, Luo Qingtong's was unable to sweep towards the direction of the far west wilderness. Luo Qingtong actually managed to repair close to 10% of his release her spirit ship. However, the strength of this power was slowly decreasing, causing her to raise her eyebrows slightly. Luo Qingtong's recovery was only temporary. Elder sister, the strength really has nothing to do with meridians would still weaken as time passed. Xueqi's small face was bitter as he came out from behind a tree. Otherwise, beside her, she could directly heal all the strength of your meridians and see if they would weaken again. The mole at the corner of the man's eye looked like it was dripping blood. If we could find the source of her energy, paired with that feminine and handsome face, your heavenly vein constitution. It was very enchanting and strange. Before Elder you could finish, but his temperament didn't make people voice rang out. He was a woman. Don't touch her. At this moment, Yi Qianxian's standing beside Xueqi. The light within it was extremely cold. Got it. Elder, you glanced at him unhappily. Or should I say, evil Dr. Ghost, it's a pity that you've taken a liking to that girl. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. I would have captured her and used some extreme methods to investigate the source of her energy. Contradictory. I wonder if that girl's blood and flesh would be of any use to your heavenly veins physique. Looking forward to meeting you for a long time was because of evil Dr. Ghost's sudden reputation. Elder, you allow seeing him for a long time was because she saved him last time. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. You're going to attack just because you want to? Xueqi's small face was wrinkled. If you don't let me touch her, sister, who would dare to touch her? This matter really has nothing to do with me. Too much. I swear I didn't inform him. The illness is yours. He came to find us himself. Elder Yuelao looked at Yi Qianxian and laughed. Threaten me, bad brother. I couldn't tell that you're actually a rare affectionate person, looking very unhappy. You're so protective of that girl. She originally didn't want to bring you how those people who know you would be taken aback if this matter were to spread to Tiandu. When Luo Qingtong left, especially those people who going to secretly get rid of him and leave with Luo Qingtong. I don't know how they're going to cry in hell. Heading towards the far west wilderness, they tried every means to obtain. Who would have thought that he would see the clues from his actions and threaten her with girl that they couldn't handle. Following Yu Xingqi's words, people would be angered to death if this gaze fell on Yu Sihuang's bosom. There was indeed a small white ball in the latter's purple robes that was rising and falling. How could they understand Luo Qingtong's goodness? Don't slander me for no reason. Everyone thought that he was protecting Luo Qingtong. Yu Sihuang unhappily looked at his unreliable younger sister. But they didn't know that the girl's ability was extraordinary. As she was willing to give him a chance to protect her in his arms, so he could get what he wanted. The chubby white cat was holding two small dried fish in its mouth. Would have run away in minutes without a trace. When it saw Yu Xingqi at the side, the world was so big, used its small claws to pull and put away the two small dried fish. These had an appearance of being afraid that Yu Xingqi would confiscate it. They didn't know what kind of potential and brilliance the girl had. Yu Xingqi's voice she was willing to give him a chance to protect her. This willing to believe him. So she exposed her secret in front of him. Elder Yuelao thought that he could slaughter her at will. But he didn't know who would be the one to be slaughtered brother and sister who were getting along with each other very strangely. Was too lazy to explain to them. Slightly pulled. When that woman grew up and walked side by side with him to leave, these people would know how wrong they were. The little golden mouse also curiously tilted its head and looked at Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang, brushed away the dust and sheltered it from the wind and rain. It really wanted to jump on their bodies and grab something, with dazzling brilliance. But it was not because of his hard work and care. It's better to hold on to its original brilliance. A big treasure is better than any other treasure to him. The little golden mouse for the day when her brilliance to tightly grab a strand of Luo Qingtong's hair, no matter what, wait a minute, could hurt this pearl in his palm. Yi Qianxian was willing to wait. Chapter 1175. Wait for Luo Qingtong to grow up and cure the drawbacks in his body. If there was no one to walk with him in the 3,000 great days, then she raised her hand. Even if he could live for a long time, and a wind and lightning sword instantly swept out. But since you don't want to touch that stopped in front of Yu Sihuang's body, think of other ways. Keizhong Point. Before, we found a lot of ways to prolong Luo Qingtong's eyes. You were so proud and arrogant that you didn't want to try if you couldn't completely cure the drawbacks in your body. You'd rather end your life at 28 years old. What Luo Qingtong said was the flaw in his current posture. Otherwise, you might not be able to hold on until that girl grows up. His heart disease. After all, Yu Sihuang didn't think that what she said was just a coincidence. Elder Yuelao thought so. The girl in front of him was only a martial emperor. They didn't know what had a feeling that even if he tried his best, in the past, he might not be able to make her stay. They had found many ways to extend his life beyond the age of 28. But this kid couldn't find a way to heal his Dr. Ghost eye, so he spent a lot of effort to try, and almost couldn't get it. Now he was finally willing, thinking about how when she was a martial emperor, she used the heavenly lightning to kill a martial sage in front of him. He had said that he would wait for Luo Qingtong to cure his mouth twitch, so he would definitely wait. In the past, don't have any evil he felt that there was no meaning in living like this. His face was helpless. Instead of dragging a body that could die at any time, wilderness, it was better to let nature take its course. But now that he had raised his hand and gently touched the tear mole at the corner of his eye, he would never allow himself to die like this. I also have a map of the Saint King's tomb. He was willing to work hard to live for her. Let's go together? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at him. Chapter 1172. Yu Xingqi at the side quickly raised his hand and said, and what Luo Qingtong hated the most was useless work. If she wanted this man, she had to have the strength to match him. At that time,
if you bring us
she
along,
would destroy the
when we
heavens
reach
if
the far
anyone
west
dared to
wilderness,
stop her from
we
being
can take
together
care
with
of each
him.
other.
Let's see who
My
would
brother
dare to
can
stop
definitely
her.
be used
But
as
right
an
now,
evil repelling
her strength
weapon.
was far from
If
enough.
you meet someone looking for trouble,
you can
stay
also
long
let
and
him
let him
Holy
go.
Academy of the
Free
Empire
labor
and
and
bodyguards.
After
It's a
dealing
waste
with all
not
the
to take
matters
it.
at hand,
Sister.
she prepared to
Anyway,
leave.
even
Before
if you don't
leaving,
let him follow,
she went to the
he will
Soul
still go
Institute
to the
with
far
Yi
west
Chenxian
wilderness
to test her soul imprint talent.
When Xueqi said this,
the results were
Yu
out of
Si Huang's
everyone's
face instantly
expectations.
turned green.
His demonic and evil
possible?
sect master
The
image.
Grand Supreme Dean
His
looked at the
domineering
light
and
emitted
evil
by the Soul
overlord image
Institute's
of the
testing
3
stone
islands
in
in
shock.
7 lands.
Pure white.
Fuck.
This
Yu
Xueqi was
rank
really born
0?
by his parents to trick
Luo
him,
Qingtong's
right?
soul imprint
However,
talent was actually
after Luo
rank 0?
Qingtong heard
Didn't that
Xueqi's
mean
words,
that her soul
she
imprint
nodded
was the
and
trashiest
agreed.
type?
In any
There
case,
was almost
the
no
map
room
of the
for
sage
improvement.
monarch's tomb in her hand was
Instantly,
only a fragment.
Everyone present
Since the
was
other
a little
party had the map
dumbfounded,
of the sage monarch's
especially
tomb,
Su Xiao
they would
Xiao and
definitely
the rest.
encounter each other
in
the
their
future.
eyes.
Since
Luo
that was the
Qingtong
case,
was almost
it
omnipotent.
was not impossible
How
to
could her
travel
soul
together.
imprint talent be so
Furthermore,
low?
This
Luo
was really
Qingtong's
out of
lips slightly
everyone's
raised
expectations.
and said to Yu Si Huang,
One had
"Take
to know
out your
that
map
even
fragment."
Yuan Hu's trashiest
All
soul
right.
imprint was close to
Thinking
rank
that
10.
Luo Qingtong
Luo
wanted to confirm
Qingtong's
the
soul
authenticity
imprint
of
was
the
really
map
too
fragments.
low.
Yu
It
Si
meant
Huang
that it was almost
straightforwardly took out the
impossible
map
for her
of
to
Saint
become a
Monarch's
soul
tomb.
master. Even if she became a soul
Luo
master,
Qingtong
there
took
was
out
no
her two
room
maps
for
of the Saint
improvement.
Monarch's tomb
This
and
was
compared
really
them
out
with Yu
of
Si
everyone's
Huang's
map.
expectations.
Soon,
The 3
"It's
maps
fine."
overlapped. The Grand
Immediately
Supreme Dean
revealing
laughed
many
dryly
hidden
and said,
mechanisms and
"It's
corresponding
fine even
room
if she can't
locations
become
that
a
had
soul
not been
master.
revealed in the previous
Being a
maps.
martial artist is
Luo
also pretty
Qingtong's
good."
eyes turned slightly.
But everyone knew
The
that a
blood in
martial
them
artist's
surging.
strength could never be
Soon,
compared
she
to a soul
activated her eye
master's.
technique.
The
And
further
the
one
overlapped
progressed,
map was
the more
imprinted in her
obvious
eyes.
this difference in strength
All right.
became.
She
When
put
a
away
soul
her
master
2
attacked,
maps of the Saint
he could
Monarch's
rely
tomb.
on his own soul
Her
imprints
eyes slightly
attribute to display
narrowed,
different
and the
effects
map
of attack
diagram
and
in her
defense.
eyes deepened.
It had a huge
It was a
boost
pity
to
that
his
the
strength.
energy contained in
This
these
was
maps
something
was
that
too
martial
great.
artists couldn't compare to. In the early stages, a martial
Chapter
artist could still contend with a
1176.
soul master. After Luo
However,
Qingtong
once a
entered
soul
the martial
master's
emperor
soul
realm,
seal was
she
completely
opened
awakened
another
and they
powerful
entered the
martial
technique.
emperor realm,
They
restoration.
would be able to communicate
Previously,
with the
when
power
she
of
was
heaven
treating
and
Yi
earth.
Qianxian's
Luo
meridians,
Qingtong's
she
talent
used
as a
it to
soul
restore
master
his
was so
meridians
low
that
that
it
it
would
would
inevitably
condition.
affect her strength and combat
Unfortunately,
strength in the
she
future.
did not succeed in the
Unknowingly,
end. They would
relying
fall
on
behind
this skill,
soul masters
Luo
of the same
Qingtong
rank.
was a rare
How
antique
could this
master in the
be?
24th
Su
century.
Xiao Xiao and
She
the others
restored
were
a lot of
anxious.
antiques.
Although they
At the
comforted
same
themselves
time,
that with the
her
false soul
forgery
seal,
skills were
Luo
unparalleled.
Qingtong's future
However,
strength would not be
Luo
affected too
Qingtong
much.
disdained to do
However,
this kind of thing.
the drawing of the fake
Anyway,
soul seal
it was not
also
difficult
based
for
on the
her to get
improvement
real
of Luo
antiques.
Qingtong's
Why
strength.
would she want to forge
If
them?
Luo Qingtong's
Because of
strength
this,
was not good
Luo
enough in the
Qingtong
future,
and several
it would be
international
impossible for the
underworld
drawing of the
organizations
fake
had
soul seal
quarreled
to
several
surpass her
times.
level. The other party wanted Luo Qingtong's ability very much, but in the end, they failed to catch her and were attacked instead. Luo Qingtong destroyed their nest and sent them to hell to forge the antiques. After memorizing the 3 overlapped maps, Luo Qingtong agreed to go with Yu Si Huang. As long as the other party did not play any tricks, she naturally would not do anything. But if the other party had some ideas, such as using the map to threaten and coerce her, then sorry, Luo Qingtong would definitely not hesitate to kick the other party away. Anyway, she had already memorized the overlapped maps of the other party and her own 2 maps. For Luo Qingtong, she would never give anyone the opportunity to threaten her. She only likes to strangle the threat in the cradle. Yu Si Huang joined Luo Qingtong's team just like that. Yu Xingqi looked at Luo Qingtong's agreement. His heart suddenly felt relieved. Mother! My unreliable big brother almost ruined my chance to follow my sister. Otherwise, I would not help him to plead. It was because he was afraid that after Luo Qingtong drove him away, she would also drive him away. However, Yu Xingqi just wanted to stick to Luo Qingtong. The other party's ability was so strong, and he was also domineering. How good would it be to follow him? She didn't want to be with her annoying brother. Moreover, if she didn't stay by her sister's side, Yu Si Huang, that scoundrel, would capture her back. She didn't want that. As for Yu Si Huang, although he looked at Yu Xingqi, his face turned green. But in view of the fact that she could speak up for him in front of Luo Qingtong, he didn't force her to leave. Otherwise, he would have sent someone to bring her back to the imperial sect after joining Luo Qingtong's team. Other than setting him up, what else could this sister of his do? Yu Si Huang looked at Yu Xingqi with a headache. After the addition of this strange pair of siblings, Luo Qingtong's team became 3 people: 1 mouse, 1 pig, and 1 cat. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched inexplicably as she looked at the string of pets. Squeak squeak. After the white cat joined the team, the little golden mouse ran into Luo Qingtong's lapel, leaving only a small round and furry head, looking at the white cat. The latter coldly snorted, glanced at it and ignored it, only focusing on eating her own dried fish.
Meow.
How could a mouse taste better than dried fish? This mouse was afraid that it would eat it? This was simply a joke. Looking at the white cat who was eating the dried fish, the little golden mouse's heart was very doubtful. As a mouse, it had never been despised by a human. No, a cat like this. It was simply tearing up. The group of people and pets embarked on the journey to the far west wilderness. When he left, Xueqi deliberately released his magnificent spirit boat airship. Chapter 1177. After Luo Qingtong saw the style of his spirit ship, she decisively turned around and boarded her own spirit ship. Xueqi was left behind looking at his specially made-up spirit boat flying ship with a gloomy face. Isn't this spirit ship beautiful? He looked at Xueqi beside him. The latter's lips twitched. Beautiful. Too beautiful. Brother, you can sit by yourself. I'm going to sister. That red and green color, that wantonly fluttering in the wind, that rose petals flying all over the sky. That's right, there was also that fragrance that drifted thousands of miles away. Especially that spirit ship was specially designed to look like a luxurious carriage. It was simply showy to the extreme. Xueqi felt that don't even mention Luo Qingtong, even she felt ashamed to sit on it, okay? She rolled her eyes at her brother, then turned around and chased after Luo Qingtong. Sister! Sister, wait for me! After Xueqi finished listening to her words, he looked at the beautiful and flirtatious flying boat and his face turned green. Luo Li, you're dead if you go back. He gritted his teeth and said. Damn it, he asked him to inquire about evil Dr. Gui Tong's preferences. He told him that the other party would definitely like this kind of gorgeous style. The more flirtatious and gorgeous, the better. And the result? If the other party was here, Xueqi would choke him to death. And somewhere unknown, a certain person who was being nagged by his own sect master sneezed several times. Achoo achoo. Strange, the weather isn't cold, why did he suddenly sneeze so many times? Luo Li's face was strange. But very quickly, he became happy again. Sect master went to see evil Dr. Gui Tong today. The plan he proposed would definitely win the favor of the evil doctor. This was the information he got from Ming Zun's protector. It was absolutely reliable. At that time, he didn't know how the sect master would reward him. Thinking of this, he felt happy. On the way to the outer realm with Yi Qianxian, Bei Qing whispered to Feng Yu, last time, that person from Imperial sect was eavesdropping. Why didn't you seize the chance to catch him, and deliberately said some nonsense? You even deliberately twisted the preferences of the evil doctor? That person is a trusted aide of the Imperial sect master. Both sides are not prepared to go to war. Even if we capture him, won't we still have to throw him out and let him go? I told him that on purpose. If he told Xueqi, that would be fun. Feng Yu chuckled as he spoke. He said it according to the taste of the most gaudy dancer. At that time, if Xueqi really found the demonic doctor, he would be in big trouble. He looked so devilish and evil, and his hobbies were so gaudy and strange. The evil doctor might take him for a sissy. Thinking of this, Feng Yu suddenly burst into laughter. In front of the two of them, Yi Qianren, who had completely heard their whispers, curled her lips slightly. Well done. He had forgotten about Xueqi, that troublesome person. Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened when he realized that the other party had actually dared to covet his treasures. Let's speed up and return as soon as we get what we need. He suddenly felt uneasy about leaving Luo Qingtong alone in the True Spill continent. As Yi Qianxian and the others were rushing to the outer realm, Luo Qingtong, Xueqi, and Xueqi also arrived at the Western Wilderness half a month later. Western Wilderness. Windflower City. In a restaurant at the city gate, Luo Qingtong and the others appeared in the lobby. Why did I dress up like this? Chapter 1178. His hair was adorned with pearls, his hair was swaying, his face was like Shi, his lips were red, and his eyebrows were extremely enchanting. Even if his face was full of resentment, he still looked like a sick Shi, so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. What's more, Xueqi's face was extremely enchanting, and when he dressed up as a woman, his lethality was even greater. In an instant, since the three people entered the restaurant, those pig eyes and drooling eyes staring at Xueqi never stopped. Instead, as the three people entered, they became more and more passionate, and more explicit. Of course it's because you attract too much attention. Hugging the little white cat, the little lowly who was bouncing beside Luo Qingtong said. Xueqi poked Xueqi's heart without hesitation. You don't know how many people you have provoked since we entered the territory of the far west wilderness and got off the flying ship. It seriously delayed our journey. Xueqi gritted his teeth and looked at his little sister who was cheating her brother. Then I'm not attracting any more attention, he said and waved his hand. In an instant, the beauty's sleeves fluttered, and a violent force blasted out from it. Instantly, a drooling pig-faced wretched man who wanted to come up and hit on her flew out. In an instant, the restaurant became silent. Everyone looked at this beauty who was obviously not to be trifled with, and in an instant, they all shrunk their heads and withdrew their gazes. Xueqi followed beside Luo Qingtong who was dressed up as a man. He made a face at Xueqi and continued to provoke him without fear of death. That's because before you changed your clothes, not only men, you even provoked women, okay? Those love-struck fools are simply unreasonable, they can't be beaten away. If you don't dress up as a woman, who will? On the way here, there are fewer people looking for trouble, don't you know? She said and rolled her eyes at Xueqi. The little white cat in her arms looked at her master's action, and also rolled her eyes at Xueqi. Looking at this master and pet who were asking for a beating. The veins on Xueqi's forehead bulged. He felt that he was able to endure until now and not choke Xueqi to death. He really broke through his limit. She was definitely a sister that he had picked up from the streets. Just when the blue veins on Xueqi's forehead were about to explode, Xueqi's eyes turned, approaching Luo Qingtong, and asked, Sister, what are we doing here? Shouldn't we go to the first city in the center of the far west wilderness, the Savage City? The Saint King's tomb was not far from the Wild City. The Savage City was the most prosperous and bustling place in the far west wasteland. It was the most developed area in the far west wilderness. Most of the families and forces that had come to the far west desolate region were gathered there. That place was known as the #1 city in the far west wilderness. Xueqi and Xueqi originally thought that Luo Qingtong would directly go to the Wild City, but they didn't expect that after she entered the far west desolate region, she would turn around and come here. I need to stay here for a while. Luo Qingtong was dressed in black, dressed as an inconspicuous man. The aura and demonic aura around her body were covered by the Xueqi 100 transformations on her body. At this moment, Luo Qingtong didn't look any different from the other pioneers who came to the far west wilderness. Only Xueqi and Xueqi, who were beside her, looked like two young ladies from some big family who ran out to play. Chapter 1179. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over his charming and enchanting female attire. In an instant, the corner of her mouth twitched fiercely and she raised her hand to support her forehead. It was obvious that Xueqi himself did not have a trace of seductive manner. His actions and sitting posture were very proper. But he couldn't resist the other party's face, which was simply too monstrous. Just a casual raise of her eyebrows or a glance was enough to give off a seductive feeling. This kind of vixen déjà vu. That's amazing. Luo Qingtong looked at him, the corners of her mouth twitching. If she had known that this fellow was so attractive, she would never have agreed to go with him. The three of them sat down in a private room in the restaurant. Luo Qingtong sat by the window. Her slender fingers gently held the white wine cup and gently swayed it. She looked down at the busy street below. Fenghua City. Su Yu and the others had sent a message saying that they were in this city. Fenghua City wasn't considered a high-level city among the developed cities in Savage City, but it wasn't low either. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to enter. The wilderness of the far west wilderness was extremely dangerous. This was the wasteland of the various large families and forces. It was different from the mountain barren areas in the eastern region. The demonic beasts here were even more ferocious. It was natural selection. And even more powerful. The mountain ranges in the eastern domain were all close to the cities. Powerful demonic beasts wouldn't live there. However, the depths of the far west wasteland was a paradise for powerful demonic beasts. The night of the far west desolate region was the hunting ground for demonic beasts. all kinds of violent demon beasts. Without the protection and defense of the city, ordinary martial artists would not be able to withstand the hunting of the demonic beasts. Luo Qingtong's eyes scanned the streets. She hadn't seen Su Yu and the others in a long time. The same went for the Luo clan's Iron Army and the Heavenly Demon Group. He wondered how they were doing now. The news they sent back was good. However, in a place like the far western wastelands, one would have to endure a lot of pain and suffering in order to make a name for oneself. Luo Qingtong came this time to see them. At the same time, he could also increase their strength. If it was suitable, he would see if he could bring them along to the Saint Monarch's tomb to search for opportunities. Therefore, Luo Qingtong deliberately took a detour and didn't go directly to Wild City. Instead, she made a trip to Fenghua City first. Luo Qingtong, Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi ate together. Because of Yu Sihuang's violent actions, which directly sent people flying. Until the three of them finished their meal, they didn't encounter anyone who came to provoke them. However, after they left the restaurant, someone quietly followed them. The veins on Luo Qingtong's forehead throbbed, and he directly bought a gauze hat and placed it on Yu Sihuang's head. If you dare to take it down, then scram with them. Also take care of them. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and looked at him. The latter's face turned green. I got it. In fact, Yu Sihuang himself couldn't take it anymore. As the future overlord of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, he grew up surrounded by people. When had he ever been coveted like this? The way those people looked at him was simply too disgusting. Yu Sihuang's face turned green. He directly put on the gauze hat and clenched his fists, walking towards those people hiding in the dark. Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi continued to walk forward. Chapter 1180. A voice drifted into Luo Qingtong's ears from not far away. Tiskeske, Heavenly Diabolism is in trouble this time. That's right. At the same time, another voice was heard. I heard that the Cheng family has invited a very powerful big shot to teach the Heavenly Diabolism a lesson. He's playing with the Heavenly Diabolism in the dark color arena. That's right. The Cheng family is determined to deal with the Heavenly Diabolism this time. They must have spent a lot of money to invite that big shot. But I don't know why they have such a deep hatred for the Heavenly Diabolism. I heard that the Cheng family was involved in the extermination of the deputy leader of the Heavenly Diabolism, Su Yu's family. And Su Yu's master seems to have robbed something from the Cheng family. In short, the hatred between the two sides is irreconcilable. However, what the Cheng clan did this time is really too vicious. I heard that they found the remaining members of the Su Yu's family and released them. They are playing with the Heavenly Diabolism Su Yu in the dark color arena like playing with a dog. At the corner of the street, a group of 3 people was talking as they turned the corner. However, just as they appeared at the corner of the street, a figure suddenly appeared beside them. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and hooked the person who was talking the most enthusiastically to her. What are you doing? The person who was talking enthusiastically wanted to resist the moment Luo Qingtong hooked him. However, before he could do anything, he instantly felt his limbs and bones losing strength. He could not exert any strength at all. In an instant, his expression turned to one of extreme horror. He was so frightened that his legs almost turned to jelly. Nothing, I just found what you said interesting, so I wanted to ask you where the dark color arena is? Luo Qingtong looked at his horrified eyes and patted his shoulder with a smile. However, the smile in her eyes was so cold that it did not enter her eyes at all. The Cheng family? A big shot. Luo Qingtong chuckled. The smile on his lips became more and more evil. The other party really had no memory at all. After suffering such a huge loss last time, they still dared to cause trouble for Su Yu and the others twice in a row. Did he think that in the far west wilderness, the emperor was too far away, and he couldn't care less about Su Yu and the others? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, the smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. Ever since she entered the city, she hadn't received any warning from Su Yu. So, which big shot had blocked Su Yu's warning? He didn't want their news to spread and let her know? Interesting. She was going to meet them now. The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was cold. She raised her hand and patted the person who seemed to have stiffened all over. Bring me to the dark arena. I will reward you. Too lazy to ask him again, Luo Qingtong let him lead the way. That person was restrained by Luo Qingtong, so how could he dare to say a word? Moreover, although the other party's cultivation was not high, it was obvious that a casual pat could make him lose all his strength. He was not to be trifled with. He immediately led the way obediently. Together with his companions, he brought Luo Qingtong to the dark color arena. This is the place. Chapter 1181. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded, then patted him on the shoulder and let him go. Reward. Before the man could react, he found that the power that had been drained from his body had returned. Not only that, but his body was also particularly light. It seemed that Luo Qingtong's pat just now had dispersed all the hidden dangers that had accumulated in his body for so many years. The man was aghast and looked at Luo Qingtong with unspeakable awe. However, when he raised his head again, Luo Qingtong's figure had disappeared. Even the figure of the little lowly dressed in a pink robe next to him had disappeared. While the man was still in a daze, Luo Qingtong and Xueqi had already swept into the strange bladed building. Dark color arena? It was a bit interesting. Luo Qingtong looked at the decoration in the building that was obviously different from the bloody arena in the black field, and her lips curved slightly. It was the first time that she had seen another arena other than the black field's bloody arena. She didn't know if there was any difference between the dark color arena and the bloody arena. If there wasn't, she was afraid that she would be very disappointed. When Luo Qingtong's figure stepped into the dark color arena, somewhere in the dark color arena, Su Yu and the people of the Luo clan's Iron Army were confronting a group of people. That group of people was the Chung clan's force in the far west wilderness. The leader was an elder of the Chung clan. Looking at his strength, he was at the peak of the martial emperor realm. His aura was faintly integrated with the surrounding spiritual energy, as if he had touched the level of the martial emperor realm. At this moment, he was looking at Su Yu and the others with a sneer, and said coldly, "How about it? Su Yu? Isn't my suggestion fair? The remaining people of your Su clan are all here. As long as you manipulate them to win the life and death battle, I'll let one of them go. How about it?" The elder of the Chung clan looked at Su Yu's expression with a strange smile. He wasn't afraid that the other party wouldn't agree. Their Chung clan had invited that big shot over. No matter how powerful those strange magic tools Su Yu and the others possessed were, could they do anything to that big shot? That was an elder of a great sect in the southern mountain range. Moreover, he was a Saint Realm expert. If Su Yu and the others wanted to die, they could just snatch him away. Let's see how they die then. The elder of the Cheng family looked very cold, watching Su Yu's expression as if he was waiting for a good show. He was waiting to play this little bastard to death. Relying on the power of evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he actually dared to make a move against the Cheng family. It was a pity that his entire family had been wiped out, and he was a bastard born as a slave. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye didn't even bother to pay attention to him. She wasn't even willing to avenge him. He even sent him to an extremely dangerous place like the Western Wasteland. When the people of the Chung clan first offended Luo Qingtong, they were terrified for a while. Later, when they found that Luo Qingtong didn't have any intention of avenging Su Yu, they became bolder. They thought that Luo Qingtong disdained to stand up for a slave. The reason why she dealt with them before was that they had offended her by coming to snatch Su Yu away. It was a slap to her face, so she acted. Chapter 1182. She didn't expect the Chung clan to be so ruthless. Their Su family's generals, who were supposed to be executed because of their defeat in the war, had all been secretly swapped out by them. They were hidden in the dark and tortured. Su Yu's heart was glad and resentful at the same time. She was glad that she wasn't impulsive at that time and asked Master to exterminate the Chung clan. Otherwise, it would be impossible to know that these Su clan people were still alive. She was resentful because the Cheng clan actually tortured the Su clan people like this. Su Yu looked at the Su clan's generals who were led out of the arena. Each and every one of them didn't have an intact and miserable appearance. Her eyes were red. Her cousins, as well as her uncles from the direct line of descent, as well as the numerous clan generals who were loyal to the direct line of descent of the Su clan. Su Yu's hands clenched tightly. "I promise you." She had no other choice. The elder of the southern mountain range invited by the Chung clan was watching all of this with cold eyes from the top of the private room upstairs. if she dared to snatch them. Not to mention the Sioux clan people. Even the people of the Luo clan Iron Army behind her would not be spared. She couldn't bring the people of the Luo clan Iron Army into danger because of her own selfishness. Master gave the Luo clan people to her so that she could lead them to gain experience in the western wilderness and make a name for themselves. She didn't want to use them for her own personal gain and revenge. Xueqi fiercely bit her lips and agreed in a stern voice.
Haha, good.
The elder of the Chung clan laughed out loud when he saw that she had agreed to it. The so-called life and death battle was a special gambling game in the western wilderness arena. Because the people of the western wilderness went out to hunt every day and engaged in life and death battles, they accumulated a lot of negative emotions in their hearts. These negative emotions couldn't be completely vented by watching other people's gambling games. But if they were asked to fight by themselves, they cherished their bodies, so it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, in the arena of the far west desolate region, a so-called literary battle was invented. That was, through a special artifact, the participants of the fighting game could use their spiritual power to control the movements of the contestants in the arena. Like a marionette, he manipulated the opponent to attack and defend. This method not only satisfied the sadistic mentality of the far western desolate region's martial artists, but also allowed them to vent their negative emotions. It was very popular in the arena of the far west wilderness.
And now, the elder of the Chung family was going to bet with Xueqi in this kind of literary way.
He wanted Xueqi to personally control the generals of the Sioux family and watch the Sioux family's people die helplessly under his hands. The arena for the Wen battle was a very special room. Inside the room, the use of all power was restricted. Only the most primitive and pure physical strength could be used in the battle. The mental strength of the participants would enter the room through a special artifact, controlling their respective competitors to fight. Usually, the contestants for this kind of literary battle were all slaves. However, today, the people who stood in the middle of the fighting field were from both the Chung clan and the Sioux clan. Those generals of Sioux clan who were imprisoned and tortured by Chung clan were dragged out of the troop like dogs and pushed into that room. Chapter 1183. With the physique of the Sioux clan's people. Even if Xueqi was a sage realm expert, she wouldn't be able to defeat him. Third great uncle is really powerful to think of such a way to torture Xueqi. When the time comes, he will personally control his own Sioux clan's people to die. Presumably, his heart will be in great pain. This can be considered as revenge for the evil Dr. Gue Tong killing one of our Chung clan's foreign elders and robbing us of our Earth-level spirit ship. The Chung clan's disciple thought so and suddenly felt even more proud. As for the Chung clan's elder, it was needless to say. Who let Xueqi be under the control of evil Dr. Gue Tong? They couldn't deal with evil Dr. Gue Tong, so naturally, they could only vent their anger on him. It just so happened that he had enmity with their Chung clan, so it was just like killing two birds with one stone. The Chung clan's elder thought and suddenly sneered as he put on the special magic tool issued by the Dark Arena. When the magic tool was put on his finger, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have established a subtle connection with the Chung clan's disciple in the room. At the same time in the room, the Chung clan's disciple clearly felt that his control over his body was taken away. However, because he knew this when he first came in, he didn't panic in his heart. Xueqi's side was the same. After she injected her spiritual power into the magic tool, she immediately felt that she had established a connection with the Sioux clan's general.
Jie, Xueqi, are you ready?
Ready, then let's begin. After the Chung clan's elder controlled the disciple's movements, he slightly moved his body. Then with a boom, he launched an attack at the Sioux clan's general.
Bang!
Xueqi controlled the body of the Sioux clan's general to dodge. However, after a long period of abuse and torture, the Sioux clan's general's physical quality was very weak. She barely controlled him to dodge to the side, but he was still swept by the attack of the Chung clan's disciple controlled by the Chung clan's elder. In an instant, the Sioux clan's general vomited blood and flew to the side, heavily smashing into the wall.
Cousin!
In the Wen duel room, all the pain from the attacks would be borne by the contestant. The person who was controlling it would not feel any harm. However, when he saw the Sioux clan's general being sent flying while vomiting blood, Xueqi felt as if his heart was being ruthlessly torn apart. She was the youngest in the Sioux family, but because of her high innate talent, she was raised as a boy. She had been the pride of the Sioux clan's main branch for 18 years. These Sioux clan's generals had also protected her for 18 years. In the end, She couldn't do anything to help them. She couldn't even save them. Third brother.
Looking at the Su family's high-ranking officer being ruthlessly thrown out, the Su family's troops under the control of the Chang family instantly burst into a commotion. The Su family's generals, who had been tortured until they were as thin as firewood, looked at the scene in the one duel room with red eyes. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the members of the Chang family.
Trash of the Chang family.
All of you will die a horrible death. Since you can't beat our Su clan, you resorted to underhanded means. In the future, when hell reincarnates, we will not let you off.
You people of the Chang family, just you wait. Chapter 1184. That's right. Fight again. We soldiers can die in battle, but we can't kneel to live. Fight again.
Following their voices, the Su family's general, who had been sent flying while vomiting blood, stood up shakily. His internal organs were almost displaced by the attack just now, and the blood he spat out was red with a tinge of black. He wiped the blood from his lips while supporting himself on the wall behind him to stand up.
Again. Su Yu, your cousin's dignity is in your hands. Don't let me die too cowardly.
He spat out the blood in his mouth as he spoke.
Humph. Shameless boasting. I'll fulfill your wishes and send you off one by one.
The Chang family elder sneered and controlled the Chang family disciple on his side to launch an attack.
Being able to let you die under Su Yu's control is considered a worthy death.
Ha ha. The Chang family elder laughed loudly and controlled the Chang family disciple to launch an extremely ferocious killing move.
Cousin.
Just when Su Yu's eyes were red and she didn't dare to look, a voice suddenly resounded in her ears.
8 steps to the left, turn right, and roll. Swing your blade.
Following this extremely familiar voice, Su Yu subconsciously followed the meaning of the words.
However, swing the blade? Where did the blade come from?
Everyone was attracted by the voice of these words. Their gazes shifted to the room where one duel was taking place. On the other hand, the elder of the Chang family who was controlling the disciples of the Chang family laughed wantonly.
Haha, where did this fool come from?
That Su family general doesn't have a weapon in his hand.
Idiot!
The opponent was attacked from the beginning, so how could he have a chance to touch a weapon? Furthermore, even if he has a weapon in his hand, he can't dodge the attack controlled by me. However, before he could finish his words, he was instantly like a chicken that was choked by the neck. In an instant, all the mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Under Su Yu's control, the Su family's general took 8 steps to the left, then turned to the right, and then fiercely rolled. Coincidentally, it rolled to the side of the weapon rack. There was a saber right in front of him. This series of actions miraculously allowed him to avoid the attack of the Chang family disciple controlled by the Chang family elder. This caused the Su clan's general, who was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, to be swept away by the aftermath of the attack, to not receive the slightest bit of attack or collision.
Clang!
As he rolled to the side of the weapon rack, he pulled out the long saber and suddenly swung it.
Ah! Along with this miserable cry.
Under the control of the elder of Cheng clan, the disciple of Cheng clan who had just released his killing move covered his arm as he screamed miserably and rolled on the ground. His right hand had been severed. In the one duel room, one could not use any power other than physical strength. Even if the true strength of the Cheng clan's descendant was enough to instantly kill the extremely weak Su clan's general. However, under the situation where he couldn't use any cultivation power, his arm was forcibly severed.
In the next second. Chapter 1185.
At the same time, the Su family's general also fell heavily to the ground, panting heavily.
He won. He actually won. Everyone looked at this scene in shock.
They didn't know why the Su family's general was clearly going to die in the next second, but at the last moment, he suddenly turned the situation around. His last series of actions was simply like moving clouds and flowing water, perfect as a textbook.
Every step he took was just right.
Just right to avoid the attack of the Cheng family's disciple and get the saber.
Direct counterattack.
This series of actions was simply the pinnacle of actual combat. The person who spoke must be very experienced in actual combat. Everyone thought so and immediately looked towards the door where the voice came from. There, Luo Qingtong was dressed in green, elegant and plain, looking very unremarkable. But her face was filled with an undisguised evil smile, which made the elegant and plain aura around her unconcealable, revealing an indescribable evil and domineering aura. Everyone looked at this obviously very ordinary-looking youth, but inexplicably couldn't move their eyes away. Luo Qingtong slowly walked in from outside the door. The smile on her lips was extremely evil and unrestrained.
Life and death battle? Interesting. I'll play with you.
As Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside, the Cheng family's elder who had lost a Cheng family's disciple looked at her with a cold expression.
Who are you? What qualifications do you have to play with me?
His voice was cold and stern. The other party ruined his good thing, simply deserved to die. She actually dared to say that she wanted to continue playing with him. The Cheng family's elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. On the other side, after Su Yu let the Luo family's Iron Army's people help her cousin up, she immediately looked over with a pleasantly surprised expression.
Moss.
She was about to speak, but Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop her.
Yi Jiu, Tianxie's nameless pawn.
What? Cheng family's elder doesn't dare to play with me? Luo Qingtong walked over to Su Yu and the others. She sat down in front of a group of excited people. At the same time, she used her eyes to signal them to sit down. Su Yu and the others couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Seeing that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity, they immediately suppressed the excitement in their hearts and forced themselves to sit down calmly. But in fact, their hearts were already crazily thinking, "Master is here! Master is here! This is really too great." The group of people were really sullen. Especially the Luo family's Iron Army's people. Seeing Su Yu's people's heart, they couldn't bear it. Luo Qingtong's appearance. Everyone was surprised, but their hearts were also filled with joy and excitement. Master. Kill Cheng family's peoples. They had previously abused the Su family so miserably. Master's master. Su. You must help Su Yu to vent her anger. The Luo family's Iron Army's people suppressed their voices and whispered to Luo Qingtong. The words of the Su family's general in the one duel room just now deeply moved them. The Luo family's Iron Army's people were almost all from the army, so they empathized with the Su family's people. Because of this, they especially hated the Cheng family's people. Don't forget, the Luo family's old man was also wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In the end, he was almost killed by King Dong Li's cunning rabbit and cooked dog.
Chapter 1186.
Yes. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She had just arrived here, and she had already learned almost everything from the onlookers. The people of the Cheng family were really looking for death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. The bloody light in her eyes glowed, and there was a murderous aura in her beautiful eyes. Humph! I didn't know that there was such a person like you in the heavenly diabolism.
Yi Jiu?
The elder from the Chang family looked coldly in Luo Qingtong's direction with an unfriendly gaze. There was no such person before the heavenly diabolism. You also said that there was no such person before. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She lazily leaned against the back of the chair she was sitting on. His eyes were shimmering with crimson mist as he looked at the elder of the Chang family. Can't you just join now? She smiled wantonly. So you people of the Cheng family are in charge of everything, and you even care whether the heavenly diabolism recruits new members or not? She raised her eyebrows as she spoke. It was an ordinary face that had been disguised, but when the girl raised her eyebrows, it revealed a myriad of charm, enchanting and domineering. It was as if an originally ordinary robe suddenly emitted endless light, transforming into a rainbow-colored feather robe. Luo Qingtong didn't suppress her aura anymore. She leaned back in her chair, and her eyes were cold and domineering. She stared at the elder of the Chung family in front of her. She looked like she was saying, I just can't stand you, so I deliberately joined the heavenly diabolism to fight against you. Bite me if you dare. Looking at the young man's provocative eyes, the blue veins on the elder's forehead twitched. Good. He sneered 3 times, and looked at Luo Qingtong with anger. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to stand up for others. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? That Chung family elder looked at Luo Qingtong's ordinary face with disdain. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Luo Qingtong used Xueqi's 100 changes to conceal her aura and temperament. She also weakened her appearance, but she didn't change her facial features. Therefore, the elder from the Cheng clan was able to see through her real age at a glance. He immediately felt disdain in his heart. He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He actually came to stand up for someone else. He had seen too many of such hotheads. That Cheng family elder didn't put Luo Qingtong in his eyes at all. What he didn't know was that this ordinary youth that he looked down on was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that they hated so much that they gnashed their teeth in anger but couldn't afford to offend. Not only that, his opponent was a peak martial emperor who could instantly kill him. His disdain and arrogance made him look like a clown, which made people laugh. Really? I wonder what a person who can't even compare to a Tom, Dick, or Harry. Luo Qingtong didn't get angry when she heard the words of that Cheng family elder. She used her gaze to suppress the anger in Su Yu and the others' hearts. She looked at that Cheng family elder indifferently, and the smile on her lips was wanton and mocking. That elder from the Cheng clan instantly recalled the match he had just lost to the other party. Not only did he not manage to deal with Su Yu and the others, but he also lost a Cheng family disciple. Chapter 1187. Fine. I'll play with you. The Cheng family elder looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. However, Su Yu, the winner of the one battle is still the two of us. It's not impossible if you want this kid to play for you. We'll raise the stakes. The Cheng family elder sneered and said, the life and death battle is not supposed to injure the participants. But today, I want to change the way we play. Your Su family is going to fight against our Cheng family. If the people on the stage are injured, the people participating in the one battle below the stage will also be injured. How about it? Do you dare to bet? The Cheng family elder sneered as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu beside her. He originally wanted to make this request, but he wanted to make Su Yu sad and feel despair before making the request. He didn't expect this kid called Yi Jiu to suddenly appear and win this round for Su Yu. However, they wouldn't be so lucky in the next round. The Cheng family elder's expression was cold, but Su Yu and Luo Qingtong's expressions were indifferent. I agree, Su Yu said without hesitation. She believed in her master. Good. The Cheng family elder sneered and replied. However, at this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Wait! The youth's voice sounded, and the Cheng family elder sneered and looked at her. What? Are you afraid? Since you're afraid, then get lost. This isn't a place for children to play games. The Cheng family elder said with disdain. His target wasn't Luo Qingtong, but the other party who deliberately came out to stir up trouble. After dealing with Su Yu and the others, he would slowly deal with this kid. No, elder of Cheng clan, you misunderstood me. Luo Qingtong said as she slowly got up from her seat and leaned forward. With her hands crossed in front of her body, she raised her head and looked at the elder of Cheng clan with a sneer. What I'm trying to say is that it's just the two of you. What kind of bet is that? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at the members of the Cheng family. If you want to play, then play big. Look at how badly the people on the stage are injured. Everyone on the other side must be injured like that. How is it? She looked at him with a smile. Do you people from the Cheng clan dare to bet with me? Luo Qingtong deliberately emphasized the word, everyone. As long as that elder of the Cheng clan agreed, not only the members of the Cheng clan in the far west wilderness, but also the members of the Cheng clan in the rising sun nation would not be able to escape. Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the matter between the Cheng family and Su Yu. After all, this was Su Yu's personal grudge. She should take revenge with her own hands. However, the members of the Cheng clan had obviously crossed her bottom line this time. Luo Qingtong didn't want to keep them alive anymore. She wouldn't let anyone from the Cheng clan off. Fine. The elder of Cheng clan sneered at Luo Qingtong. He didn't understand the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's words. However, even if he did, he didn't care. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly win against him. Betting everyone as a bet would only make the members of Heavenly Diabolism die more miserably. He originally wanted to humiliate Su Yu, and then kill all the people of Heavenly Diabolism here. This elder of Cheng clan wasn't stupid enough to let Su Yu and the others go back after humiliating them. He would let them tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye and then take revenge on the Chung clan.
Chapter 1188. Xueqi, what do you say? He looked at Xueqi sinisterly. The latter nodded without hesitation. Just do as he says. Whatever master says, they will do. Xueqi believed that Luo Qingtong wouldn't lose. Even if Luo Qingtong really asked them to die, she wouldn't even blink. Not to mention the people from the Luo family's iron army behind her. They swore to follow Luo Qingtong's orders for life. Never question. This was one of the essential qualities of a soldier. Good. Since none of you have any objections, then let's begin. The sneer in the eyes of Elder Tian from the Chung family became even colder. Xueqi and the others were really grabbing onto a random person as a life-saving straw. Did they really think that this Yi Jiu could help them win these literary battles just because he had some ability? Idiot! Since he dared to make such a request and let Xueqi fight with him. Of course, he came prepared. He wanted to humiliate Xueqi to death and let her see with her own eyes how the Su family members died one by one in her hands. He had been careless previously and allowed Yi Jiu to take advantage of him. The other party's combat experience was indeed extremely rich. It was really good to have such keen combat instincts at such a young age. But if Xueqi and the others thought that they could win by relying on him, then they were gravely mistaken. Because, opening heaven's eyes, the Chung family elder looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and sneered as he raised his hand to wipe his eyes. In an instant, there seemed to be a ball of energy revolving in his eyes, forming the appearance of an eye within an eye. It was a new unique skill that the elder from the Chung clan had obtained. It could force one's energy into his eyes, allowing his eyes to see through the opponent's moves in a short period of time and predict what the opponent's next move would be. Ever since the Chung family elder obtained this unique skill, he had experimented with it several times in private. He found that this opening heaven's eyes was indeed miraculous. The only drawback was that it consumed too much strength, and it could only see one movement of the opponent clearly. After the Chung clan elder made his move, the surrounding people instantly noticed the change in his eyes, and they immediately cried out in alarm. That's the eye of a Chung clan elder. Looks like it's a very powerful unique martial art. The Chung clan sent the Heavenly Diabolism's people to participate in this one duel. Obviously, they are well prepared. I knew it. The Chung family has the upper hand. So why are they fighting with the Heavenly Diabolism? They even said that they will let one person go if they win one round. So he was just toying with them. Yes. It seemed like the Chung clan was determined to deal with Tianxia's people. It was estimated that none of these Su family members would survive. All of you will die on the literary battle stage. What are you talking about? Don't forget that the Heavenly Diabolism's people have promised the Cheng family that they will be as injured as the people on the stage. I think they're finished. Yes. Sigh. It was also proposed by Yi Jiu who just came. Otherwise, Xueqi would suffer at most. Great, the entire Heavenly Diabolism's people are going to be in big trouble. Yes. A group of people shook their heads and sighed. The Heavenly Diabolism's people are also unlucky. They originally wanted to win the one duel with Yi Jiu's strength. Chapter 1189. That's right. That Yi Jiu is too arrogant. Now, he and the Heavenly Diabolism are going to be in trouble. A group of people were talking at once. Many people looked at the Heavenly Diabolism sympathetically. Among these people, many were familiar with Xueqi and the rest. They had even worked together before. They admired Xueqi and the rest's character. But this time, the Chung family had invited the elder from the southern region to oversee the situation. No one dared to help them. When they saw that the Heavenly Diabolism was going to lose, they sighed and felt pity in their hearts. When those people of Chung family saw the elder's action, they immediately laughed complacently. They were all aware of the Chung clan's elder's hidden trump card. The other party had been hiding until now, just to give the Su family a critical blow at this moment. They looked at the direction of Luo Qingtong and the rest with a complacent expression, waiting to see the despair on Xueqi and the rest's faces. However, Xueqi and the rest's faces didn't change at all. They sat calmly beside Luo Qingtong and didn't have any doubts or uneasiness. They wouldn't regret their master's order even if they had to die.
Moreover, how could these people understand their master's ability? Su Yu and the rest's faces were as calm as a mountain. Luo Qingtong chuckled and looked at the elder's eyes meaningfully. Forcing the breath in one's body into one's eyes to form a new pupil within the pupil, which can temporarily see through the opponent's actions? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved slightly. Interesting, she murmured softly. Then she raised her voice and looked at the elder of the Cheng family. Since you're ready, let's start. She originally thought that there was no suspense in this battle of words. She didn't expect the opponent to have such a trump card. This ignited a lot of interest in Luo Qingtong. She would fight with this opening heaven's eye. As Luo Qingtong spoke, the blood-red vortex in her eyes suddenly began to spin. Bring him here. The Cheng clan elder sneered and waved his hand. In the face of Luo Qingtong's calmness, he and the other members of the Cheng clan took it as a bluff and forced themselves to remain calm. When the Su family's people died one by one in their hands, let's see how those people from the heavenly evil faction would be able to maintain their calm. Humph. He wanted those people from the Su clan to be turned into human rods. At that time, the heavenly diabolism's people would also end up like this. As the elder of the Cheng family waved his hand, a general of the Su family and a disciple of the Cheng family appeared in Wendo's room. This time, the disciples sent by the Cheng clan were all tall and sturdy, and it was obvious that they were experts in brute force. This disciple of the Cheng clan might not be very strong, but in terms of physical strength, he was the strongest among the Cheng clan's disciples. His figure was like an iron tower as he walked into Wendo's room. His footsteps made thumping sounds on the ground. Among the people from the Su family, the one who was led out was the thinnest one. Not only that, his age was also relatively old. His figure staggered a little as he walked out. Uncle! Seeing the figure of the Su family's general, Su Yu's palm clenched tightly. The people from the Cheng clan were too shameless. Every time the Su family's general retreated to defend, it was actually when his attack range was exhausted. It looked like it had blocked his attack, but in fact, when his attack reached that point, it no longer had any attacking power. He didn't even touch or injure the other party. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. What kind of precise calculation and attack prediction was this, to be able to defend at such a precise point every time? The other party hadn't been attacked at all. Granduncle, you mustn't be fooled. Chapter 1191. This Cheng clan disciple had no way of telling the Cheng clan's elder what he felt when he attacked. It was just like how when they were attacked, the person controlling them would not be able to feel the damage at all. The disciple of the Cheng clan was terrified to the extreme. But the Cheng clan's elder was completely unaware. Boom! After another heavy punch, the Su clan's general seemed to be unable to bear it. He staggered back a step as if he was about to be blown away. Seeing this scene, the Cheng clan's elder suddenly laughed out loud. Finally unable to bear it, right? Dang! He was very proud in his heart. He thought that Yi Jiu was very powerful. In the end, he didn't even use open heaven's eyes. The opponent couldn't hold on. That's right, the Su clan's generals were so weak. This time, the one he chose was the weakest among them. Against the strongest disciple on their side, there was no suspense at all. The Cheng family's elder laughed and controlled the Cheng family's child to jump up high in an instant. The child rushed towards the Su family's high-ranking officer who was about to be sent flying. He directly punched towards the Su clan's general's left arm. He wanted to break his opponent's arms and legs one by one and turn him into a human stick before killing him. The Cheng clan's elder had a sinister smile on his face. On the other hand, the face of the Cheng clan's disciple under his control was twisted in extreme horror. This was because he clearly saw that the Su clan's general, who seemed to have been beaten back and was about to fly out, had a smile on his face. It was a relaxed, relieved, and comfortable smile. On Tianxia's side, Luo Qingtong's lips were also slightly hooked up. Boom! Her mind moved fiercely, and in an instant, the Su clan's general attacked. Just as the Cheng clan disciple leaped high into the air and charged at him, the Cheng clan disciple leaped high into the air. The opponent's center was wide open. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su clan's general and rushed towards the Cheng clan disciple. Bang! She directly let the opponent kick her. As for the Cheng family's elder, He noticed that something was amiss when the Su family's general moved. He hurriedly controlled the Cheng family disciple to dodge. However, the latter was in mid-air and was a natural target. How could he dodge the attack of the Su family's general? Left with no other choice, the elder of the Cheng clan had to activate his Heaven's Eye. In an instant, he saw through the landing point of the kick from the Su clan's general. He immediately forced the Cheng clan's disciple to twist his body, avoiding the kick from the Su clan's general. However, before he could reveal a smug smile on his face, the next second, bang! Just as he controlled the Cheng family's disciple to turn around, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through his intentions. She directly changed the direction of her leg and blocked the Cheng family's disciple's path. It was as if that kick had been waiting for him all along. Boom! Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. In the next second, she controlled the foot of the Su clan's general to sweep fiercely. In an instant, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Chapter 1192. A large part of his chest had caved in. His entire back was bent out of shape. Obviously, the kick that Luo Qingtong used on the Su family's general had broken all his ribs. Not only that, those broken ribs had pierced into his body. It didn't break out of his back because the body of the Su family's general was too weak. The strength that he could exert wasn't that strong. Otherwise, this kick was enough to kick this Cheng family's disciple to death. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She controlled the Su family's general to walk in front of the Cheng family's disciple who was screaming and rolling on the ground. With one kick, she crushed all his limbs. How could Luo Qingtong not know what the Cheng family's elder wanted to do? He wanted to turn the Su family's people and Tianxie's people into sticks? She would help the Cheng family's people. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general's movements and slowly crushed the Cheng family's disciple's limbs. If she didn't see wrongly, when he first entered this Wendual room, the Cheng family's disciple's eyes were very excited and bloodthirsty, right? He must have spent a lot of energy and effort to snatch this opportunity from the Cheng family's people, right? How could she let it go to waste? Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary to let the other party stay in this Wendual room a little longer, so that the people outside could better appreciate the things that he wanted to do to the Su family's people. But in the end, it was retribution that fell on him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. In the Wendual room, the Cheng family's disciple screamed miserably. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the Cheng family's people who were already pale beyond compare. How is this possible? The Cheng family's elder looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He didn't know how the other party saw through his actions in the end. He had clearly used open heaven's eyes. Logically speaking, he should have avoided the opponent's attack. However, Luo Qingtong controlled the kick of the Su family's general. It was as if she was deliberately waiting for him when he controlled the Cheng family's disciple to twist his body. What was going on? That Cheng clan elder's eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he tried. What they didn't know was that he had indeed seen through the kick of the Su clan's general and had successfully avoided it. However, Luo Qingtong also saw through his dodging action. He could rely on his open heaven's eye to see through Luo Qingtong's control over the Su family's general. However, Luo Qingtong was able to see through every action of the Cheng family's disciple under his control. Luo Qingtong's pupil technique was simply a cheat-like existence in a situation where she couldn't use any power to protect her body and couldn't use any cultivation base. An invincible killing machine. The Cheng clan elders, heaven's eye opening, couldn't compare at all. Come. Let's continue. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general and kicked the Cheng family's disciple who was crushed like mud out of the Wendual room. Chapter 1193. In the eyes of the Cheng family, the young man's smile was a forced calmness and a bluff. But now, they realized that he simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. Who was this person? Where did he come from? How could he have such a terrifying combat ability and combat experience? Even the Cheng family elder couldn't defeat him even after using Heaven's Eye? The Cheng family elders looked at the smile on Luo Qingtong's face and shuddered in their hearts. All of a sudden, they had a feeling. That was, agreeing to this bet. Maybe it wasn't the heavenly diabolism's tragedy and mistake. It was theirs. They were gravely mistaken. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with stiff faces and terrified hearts. The surrounding people were also shocked and regretful. Those people who just said that Luo Qingtong was bound to lose and that the heavenly diabolism people were unlucky were now staring at the scene in the room with wide eyes. Oh my God! The crowd didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it. He was obviously the weakest general of the Su family who had been abused and had no strength left. He actually won against the Cheng family's tall and strong disciple. Looking at the Cheng family's disciple who had been tortured until he didn't even look human anymore, the crowd fell into a deep silence and shock. They suspected that the elder of the Cheng clan was too careless and didn't use his unique martial art. But looking at the shocked and horrified faces of the Cheng family elders, their faces turned ashen. They were speechless for a moment. The Cheng family elders weren't that stupid. They had been slapped in the face before and now they were slapped again. Therefore, the elder from the Cheng clan had actually used the pupil of eyes in his eyes, but he was still defeated by his opponent in the end? This Yi Zhou. How strong was his combat acuity and intuition? Combat experience. How rich was he? What kind of great power was this genius youth that came out to play? Even if he was a superpower in the 4 regions of the Truspill continent, he would definitely be a peerless genius who was carefully cultivated and cared for. While the crowd was shocked, Luo Qingtong had already brought the Su family's general out of the room. She asked the heavenly diabolism people to settle him down, and then looked at the Cheng family elder who had a pale face. Cheng family elder, let's continue. She chuckled and tapped her index finger on the table in front of her. As long as your Cheng family people can win this round, we will raise the stakes and consider it our loss. How about it? Luo Qingtong's words was a provocation and contempt. She was returning all the disdain and contempt that the Cheng family had shown to the Tianxie people just now. How dare they attack her people? Today, she would show these people from the Cheng family what despair was. What is you? The veins on the Cheng family's elder's forehead were bulging from Luo Qingtong's words. The people of the Cheng clan behind him also wore terrified and embarrassed looks on their faces. Luo Qingtong said such words in an absolutely crushing manner. This was the biggest slap to the Cheng family's face. Chapter 1194. Continue. The elder from the Cheng clan gritted his teeth and said word by word. He clearly knew that Luo Qingtong's words were a humiliation, but he had no choice but to accept it. Because if he accepted to continue, then they would still have a chance to turn the tables. If he didn't accept, then the bet would be their Cheng clan's final resting place. He didn't believe that his open heaven's eye was useless against the other party. There were so many people in the Su clan. There were so many rounds of one duels, it was impossible for him to not win a single round. He wanted Luo Qingtong to swallow all the words she had said. The muscles on that Cheng clan elder's face twitched fiercely. In front of everyone, he had humiliated himself by agreeing to Luo Qingtong's request to continue. And all of this. In his original plan, he should be the one to speak arrogantly to the people of Tianxie. The third round of Wen duels began. This time, that Cheng clan elder used his open heaven's eye right from the start. His eyes were focused on the Su clan's general's actions, and he launched an attack with a bang. And this time, Luo Qingtong was not prepared to defend like before. She narrowed her eyes and looked at that Cheng clan disciple in the one duel room. He directly manipulated the Su family's general to rush forward and launch an attack. Gain the initiative by striking first. Luo Qingtong controlled that Su clan general's actions, and in an instant, that Cheng clan elder sneered. The pupil in his eye began to spin violently. That Su clan general's actions were completely seen through by him. However, when he controlled that Cheng clan disciple to counterattack that Su clan general's actions. Bang! That Su clan general's actions when charging in front of him suddenly changed. His original action of swinging his fist suddenly turned into a kick. With a bang, that Cheng clan elder could not react in time and did not have time to change his move. The pupil in his eye flickered rapidly. He had already predicted the Su family's general's move the moment he lifted his foot. But it was too late. That Su clan's general had changed his move at the last moment. The elder of Cheng clan needed some time to see through the attack and maneuver that disciple to dodge the attack. When his open heaven's eye saw through the kick of the Su clan's general, That kick had already ruthlessly landed on the stomach of the Cheng clan's child. Bang! The disciple of Cheng clan arched his body in a split second as he flew across the ground and heavily hit the wall more than 10 meters away. With a muffled bang, the Cheng clan disciple could only lie on the ground and groan. This again. The elder of the Cheng clan almost vomited blood. Every time he predicted his opponent's move, his opponent would immediately change his move. In the end, it was as if he was the one who had taken the brunt of his opponent's attack. It was as if his predictions had been completely seen through by the other.
How could there be such a terrifying person in this world?
Luo Qingtong manipulated the actions of the Su family's high-ranking military officer like moving clouds and flowing water. It was as if all of his actions were in front of the other party, without any concealment at all. The other party could do whatever they wanted to him.
Chapter 1195.
Every time he attacked, he felt as if he was stuck on a spider's web, unable to exert his strength. The elder from the Cheng family almost vomited blood when he thought about it.
How is this possible? How did things turn out like this? He looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief.
He did not know how she could see through his prediction of opening heaven's eye and react in time. Could it be that she was really a genius with superb combat awareness? Other than this, there was no other explanation for her actions. The elder of the Cheng clan felt that it was indescribable.
Luo Qingtong's movements were still elegant and slow.
Just like in the previous round, she crushed the limbs of the Cheng family's disciple and kicked him out of the one duel room.
Come on!
Luo Qingtong smiled as she looked at the people from the Cheng family whose faces had turned green. The elders from the Cheng family looked terrible. At this moment they could see that the elder from the Cheng family's opening heaven's eye was not very useful against Luo Qingtong. Even if he used opening heaven's eye, he could not defeat Luo Qingtong. This realization made the faces of the people from the Cheng family turn green instantly. However, the elder from the Cheng family was still unwilling to accept the reality.
Let's continue.
He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Then, they continued to the next round. However, the speed of this match was even faster.
Bang!
The disciple from the Cheng family who was controlled by him was sent flying out and suffered the same fate as the other disciples from the Cheng family. At this moment, the other disciples from the Cheng family felt a chill in their hearts when they saw this scene. They wanted to retreat, however, when they thought of Luo Qingtong and the elder from the Cheng family who raised the stakes, they felt extremely hopeless. Even if they retreated, if they lost the one duel, they would still end up being turned into human sticks. At this moment, the people from the Cheng family started to regret. What did it mean to lift a rock only to drop it on one's own foot? What did it mean to fail in acting tough and get slapped in the face? What did it mean to go for wool and come home shorn? They wanted to use this battle to deal with Tianxia's people, but they didn't expect that they would be slapped in the face. Moreover, he was the one who went up to be beaten up. The whole place was silent. Everyone watched as the members of the Cheng clan turned from arrogant to embarrassed. His mouth was wide open and he couldn't close it.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
Luo Qingtong won one match after another. In the end, almost all the people of the Su clan were won over by her.
Boom!
In the last match, the Cheng clan's disciple controlled by the Cheng clan's elder was ruthlessly smashed into the ground by the Su clan's general controlled by Luo Qingtong. At the same time, in the direction of the Cheng family, the elder of the Cheng family suddenly screamed. He covered his eyes and rolled around violently. Dark red blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers covering his eyes. It was because he had used open heaven's eyes too much in the literary battles and had directly exploded his own eyes. The shrill voice of the elder from the Cheng family and the disciple from the Cheng family in the one duel room rang out one after another. When everyone heard this, they felt a chill in their hearts.
Chapter 1196.
With such a terrifying fighting ability, no matter how weak the opponent was, he had the ability to challenge those of a higher level. And as he grew stronger, this ability to challenge those of a higher level would be even more terrifying. Because on the path of martial arts, the higher the level, the greater the disparity in strength. It was almost impossible to cross. However, Luo Qingtong could rely on her ability to challenge those of a higher level to reduce this disparity. Even if her strength was not enough, she could still fight against those of a higher level. In the eyes of other warriors, this was very inconceivable and terrifying. Just as everyone was looking at Luo Qingtong in shock, she slowly stood up and looked at the frightened members of the Cheng family and said, "All right. The one battle is over. You should also carry out your bets." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the surrounding people remembered that not only did the Cheng family bet on the one battle with the people of the heavenly diabolism, but they also added bets. And the content of the bets. They looked at the people of the Cheng family and saw that their faces were pale. They looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the screaming elder of the Cheng family suddenly grabbed a disciple of the Cheng family and stood up. He angrily shouted at Luo Qingtong and the others, "Little bastards, don't think that you can deal with us like this. So what if you won the one battle? Today, none of you from the heavenly diabolism can leave the dark arena." The elder of the Cheng family had a ferocious expression. His eyes had become two bloody holes, which made him look very scary. The veins on the Cheng family elder's forehead bulged as he raised his head abruptly and shouted towards a certain room on the second floor, "Elder Pan, please make your move. Fight against the people of the heavenly diabolism. According to the agreement we had before, all the profits of the Cheng family in the far west wilderness these years will belong to you." The voice of the elder of the Cheng family sounded. Everyone immediately looked up at the room on the second floor. Everyone remembered that the people of the Cheng family had something to rely on to deal with the people of the heavenly diabolism. The one battle was just a way to humiliate the opponent. Although they lost, as long as the elder of the southern region sect was there to support them, the people of the Cheng family would be fine. In fact, the people of the heavenly diabolism would be in trouble. After all, the elder of the southern region's sect not only was his own strength, but his sect was also very powerful in the far west wilderness. Hearing the words of the Cheng family's elder, Su Yu and the others had a slight change in expression. "Master." Su Yu stepped forward and wanted to say something, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. "It's nothing." Luo Qingtong was elder of the heavenly diabolism of the southern region sect. In the private room on the second floor, after hearing the words of the Cheng family's elder, a figure immediately rushed out from the room. It was an old man who looked very short and small, like a dwarf. He jumped out of the private room on the second floor and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 1197. The old man looked shrewd and wretched. He glanced at Luo Qingtong and waved his sleeve. "What?" The elder of the Cheng clan was still waiting for Elder Pan to vent his anger for them. When he heard Elder Pan's words, he immediately shouted, "Elder Pan, didn't we agree on this? You will help us get rid of the heavenly diabolism and we will reward you." The elder from the Cheng family did not expect Elder Pan to ask the heavenly diabolism to scram. Did this mean that they could not avenge themselves? More importantly, once the heavenly diabolism left, they would tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye about this. The Cheng family would be finished in the Sunrise Country. The elder from the Cheng family became anxious at the thought of this. Humph. As soon as he spoke, Elder Pan from the Southern Domain sect let out a cold harumph. He raised his hand and a gust of wind shot out. In an instant, the elder from the Cheng clan, who had just crawled up from the ground, was sent flying again. "Do I need you to tell me what to do?" Elder Pan from the southern region sneered at the elder from the Cheng family and said, "I did agree to help you get rid of the heavenly diabolism. However, that was based on the fact that you won. Now, what kind of battle is this? You've lost your lives to others. I've saved your lives, so I'm already worthy of this reward. Do you still want me to deal with the heavenly diabolism?" Elder Pan coldly snorted. In fact, he felt that Luo Qingtong's ability was extraordinary. She might be a genius disciple secretly groomed by some big faction and went out to gain experience. In addition, the man's ordinary face gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. This Elder Pan felt that it was better for him to be a little more cautious. It would be better if he just chased them away. He should not go too far with her. With this thought, he waved his hand and said, "All right, you heavenly diabolism scram. Otherwise, I will change my mind." Elder Pan. The elder from the Cheng clan was anxious. He didn't care about the blood on his head and his sorry figure as he hurriedly said, "Elder Pan, you can't. Please make a move."
We, the Cheng family, are willing to pay twice as much. Humph. I'm not in a good mood today, so I'm not going to fight anymore. If your Cheng clan wants to deal with them, do it yourself. Elder Pan looked at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, What? Why aren't you guys scramming? If you don't scram, I'm going to attack. Elder Pan said. He didn't want to go too far with the other party.
But if the other party insisted on not leaving, then for the sake of his own face, he would have to make a move against the other party. Just as Elder Pan's words rang out, Xueqi's crisp voice sounded from outside the door.
Really? How impressive and domineering. May I know which part of the southern domain you're from, and which sect's elder?
Tell me your name so that my brother and I can see who is so powerful that he dares to treat my sister like this.
Brother Joe, you're being rude. Chapter 1198. Xueqi had been left outside by Luo Qingtong to wait for Yu Huang. Now that the latter had come back from teaching people a lesson, they all stepped into the hall together. Seeing Luo Qingtong and the other Qing family members confronting each other, Yu Huang slightly knit his brows. He didn't think that Luo Qingtong needed to spend too much energy to deal with a small upper-class country's aristocratic family. So, there was a variable in this? His eyes swept around and immediately saw Elder Pan, who was standing in front of the Cheng family members but was completely ignored by him because of his height. King. That Elder Pan, when Yu Huang and Xueqi walked into the hall together, his eyes had already popped out. My mother. This was the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect. If it wasn't for Yu Huang's iconic evildoer face that didn't change and Xueqi, this little devil girl by his side, Elder Pan would have thought that he had recognized the wrong person. How did King become like this? Elder Pan's eyes widened as he looked at Yu Huang's head full of vermilion hairpins and cloud hair, swaying as he walked, captivating the soul. My mother. Elder Pan looked at everyone's stunned eyes staring at Yu Huang's body and didn't know what to say. King. What kind of stimulation did you receive? Sect Master. Have you ever thought that as the head of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, this hobby of dressing up as a woman and walking in front of people is very inappropriate? Elder Pan's eyes popped out. The elder of the Cheng clan shouted loudly as if he had caught hold of something that could be used against him. Elder Pan, they are in cahoots with that Yi Jiu. They are deliberately looking down on you. Speaking up to hear. He let out a long breath. Being despised and looked down on like this Elder Pan should want to make a move and kill all of Tianxia's people, right? Haha. That Yi Jiu's 2 friends were really their Cheng family's god helpers. Originally, Elder Pan was already prepared to not care about their Cheng family and Tianxia's matters. Now that the 2 of them had appeared and said such words, how could Elder Pan possibly spare them? Not to mention the contempt in their words towards Elder Pan and the southern region sect behind him. That Cheng family elder was proud in his heart, and sneered at Xueqi and Yu Huang. You 2 women, what do you know? This is an elder of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, Shocking Heaven Gate. Among the 3 islands and 7 lands, the Shocking Sky Sect's strength is one of the best. Elder Pan is the person in charge of the Startling Sky Sect's forces in the Western Wastelands. His strength and prestige in the Startling Sky Sect is extremely high. How dare you disrespect Elder Pan? You must be tired of living. That Cheng clan elder's face was filled with arrogance and disdain. What he didn't know was that Elder Pan's heart was about to collapse when he heard his words. That wretched and shrewd old face was completely green, black, and green. Bang! Without waiting for Yu Huang and Xueqi to say anything, that Elder Pan had already rushed in front of them, and fiercely slapped that Cheng family elder's face. Boom boom boom. A burst of explosive sounds. That Cheng clan elder was instantly sent spinning on the spot by Elder Pan's slap. Then he was fiercely sent flying. Chapter 1199.
At the sight of such a scene, all the other members of Cheng clan who were echoing the words of that elder were dumbfounded and dumbfounded.
What was going on? Did that Elder Pan make a mistake? Even if he wanted to flip out, He should be targeting Tian Xie and Yi Jiao. Why would he make a move against their Cheng family elders? The Cheng family members were at a loss as they looked at Elder Pan, who suddenly flipped out. The latter fiercely slapped the Cheng family elder and sent him flying. After not knowing if he was dead or alive, he quickly lowered his head and said to Luo Qingtong and the others, "I'm sorry, Master Zhou. This time I had eyes but couldn't see. Please don't lower yourself to my level. These Cheng family people, I'll immediately take care of them for you. As for the things they gave me, I'll give them all to Tian Xie as an apology for offending you this time." Cold sweat broke out on Elder Pan's forehead. He was really going to be killed by the Cheng family. They dared to call the king a woman. They even said they knew something. That was fine. They even boasted about him and the Shocking Heavens sect in front of the other party. If it was the previous Yu Sihuang, it would be fine. Although the imperial sect had a large influence in the 3 islands and 7 lands, Yu Sihuang was suffering from a heart disease. He wanted to unify the 3 islands and 7 lands, but he was powerless. He was almost killed by the Silver Sword people. But it was different now. The Silver Sword people couldn't kill Yu Sihuang and instead allowed the latter to obtain an opportunity. His heart disease was cured and he came back to destroy the Silver Sword. The entire 3 islands and 7 lands were now under Yu Sihuang's control. The other party's strength was also constantly increasing. In this kind of situation, the Cheng family people actually boasted about how strong the Shocking Heaven sect was in front of the king of the southern mountain range. This was simply trying to kill them. Elder Pan hated that he couldn't just choke the Cheng family people to death. They caused him to go against the sect master. He couldn't kill them. Elder Pan's face was filled with killing intent. He didn't dare plead for mercy to Yu Sihuang. The latter was still dressed as a woman. If the latter's identity was exposed, there was no need for him to beg for mercy. He could just wait for death with the entire Shocking Heaven sect. Therefore, he could only place his hopes on Luo Qingtong. It could be seen that Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi attached great importance to this Yi Jiao. And just now, Yu Xingqi opened his mouth to support Luo Qingtong. With this thought in mind, he lowered his posture in front of Luo Qingtong. Looking at this scene, the whole place fell silent. The onlookers didn't expect things to turn out this way. Who exactly was this Yi Jiao? To actually cause this Elder Pan of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands heaven shocking sect to lower his head respectfully? While everyone was secretly guessing and shocked, Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Elder Pan. "Since you didn't make a move this time, I'll let this go. You've dealt with these Cheng family people. The Cheng family's influence in the western wilderness, not a single one will be left." Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. That Elder Pan hurriedly complied. His gaze glanced at Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. Seeing that they didn't have any objections, he immediately rejoiced that he made the right bet. This Yi Jiao was indeed able to influence their decision. Chapter 1200. The faces of the Cheng family members were extremely ugly. They did not know what was going on. Wasn't Elder Pan the backer that the Cheng clan had invited? The other side had clearly agreed to the Cheng family's conditions and wanted to make a move against Tian Xie. Not only did he not make a move, he even wanted to destroy their Cheng family. Everyone's faces turned pale. A core disciple of the Cheng family quickly said, "Elder Pan, don't forget, you accepted that buy." Before he could finish his words, Elder Pan had already waved his hand fiercely, chopping off his head. "Humph! Kill everyone from the Cheng family. Don't leave a single one alive." Elder Pan's face was cold. The deal between him and the Cheng family was indeed because of someone pulling the strings. That person was the Bai family's young master from Savage City in the western desolate region, Bai Jintang. But that was in the past. Moreover, he did not know that Tian Xie had a relationship with Yu Sihuang at that time. With Yu Sihuang here, not to mention the Bai family's young master, even if the entire Bai family was here, he would not be able to go against Tian Xie. The Cheng family actually wanted to use Bai Jintang to pressure him. Instantly, the killing intent in Elder Pan's heart became even stronger. He directly waved his hand. Immediately, in the private room on the 2nd floor, the trusted subordinates of the Shocking Heaven sect that followed him jumped down and began to massacre the Cheng family members. The original backer had turned into a death god,
The Cheng family members could not react in time and all of them died under the hands of the Shocking Heavens sect. They cried out and begged for mercy, but Su Yu and the others did not even care about them. How the Cheng family treated them before was still vivid in their minds. Not to mention the miserable state of the Su family's generals in front of them. The Cheng family members all deserved to die. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong coming this time, Su Yu and the others would be controlled by others. Adding in the presence of Elder Pan and the Shocking Heavens sect, who knew how many losses Tianxia would have suffered? Perhaps the entire Tianxia would have died here. In this kind of situation, how could Su Yu and the others spare the Cheng family members? Since the other side wanted to deal with them before, then they would have to properly taste this bitter fruit. Let's go. Luo Qingtong's face was calm. She brought Su Yu and the others out of the dark arena. Yu Xihuang and Yu Xingqi followed by her side. As they walked out of the hall. Just then, an elder in a dark arena uniform chased up from behind and called Luo Qingtong, "Mr. Yi Jiu Yi, please wait a moment. Your humble servant is the manager of the Dark Colors Arena. Yi Jiu Yi Jiu Yi 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 Jiu Jiu Yi 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 Yi." Foreign dignitary. Luo Qingtong raised her brows and looked at him. Yes. The deacon of the Dark Colosseum smiled and said, "Our Dark Colosseum likes to invite experts from all walks of life to become our guest elders. If you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, young Master Yi will not be restricted in any way. On the contrary, if you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, you can enjoy VIP treatment in our Dark Color Arena." Chapter 1201. In addition, if Gongzi encounters any trouble or difficulties outside, by virtue of your status as a guest, you can ask our Dark Color Arena for help. But there is only one free chance a year. At other times, if Gongzi wants to use our Dark Color Arena's strength, you have to use contribution points to exchange. The deacon of the Dark Colored Arena smiled and said, "Young master, when our Dark Colored Arena needs you, you can take part in a literary battle for us. Every time you win, you'll get a chance to fight for our Dark Colored Arena. You can use it to ask our Dark Colored Arena to do anything we can." So many benefits? Luo Qingtong looked at the Dark Color Arena's deacon. To be honest, she was also very interested in this Dark Color Arena. Not to mention other things, the literary battle method was really very original. It was similar to the Roman Colosseum's primitive and bloody battle, but it could also satisfy the participants' heart's brutality, and it would not cause any harm to the opponent. Just based on this point, who knows how many people would be attracted to come and gamble? More importantly, the other party's special tool for the literary battle was really not ordinary. Luo Qingtong guessed that there must be a saint-level tool refiner or above behind the other party. Luo Qingtong was very interested in that tool. If this thing was used well and improved, it would definitely be a great tool for training soldiers. However, the person who refined the tool had added a trace of divine sense, and it was connected to the other party's mind. Luo Qingtong was unable to analyze the tool's composition and refining method. Otherwise, the other party would capture her aura. Moreover, with her current strength, it was not enough to refine this special tool. As a result, Luo Qingtong wanted to join the other party, and see if she could get some of these special tools. But thinking of the guest's request, which was to help them in the literary battle when they needed it, Luo Qingtong immediately gave up on this idea. She had too many things to do, and might not have the time. Forget it. Thinking like this, she wanted to refuse. At this time, Yu Xihuang's voice sounded in her ear. "You can agree. Behind the Dark Color Arena, there are people from the hidden world. You will enter the hidden world sooner or later. If you agree to his request, it will be good for you and your subordinates. As for his request for the literary battle, it is not mandatory. Just agree to it. When he asks you to go to the literary battle, you will go if you have time. If you don't have time, don't go. As far as I know, the Dark Colors only do this once a year. They gather all the guest elders of the one duel and ask them to help with the one duel. And from the last time, it has just been a few days." Yu Xihuang's voices suddenly. Luo Qingtong, of course. Luo Qingtong, Luo Qingtong's, Luo Qingtong. As the Lord of the Southern Region's 3 islands and 7 lands, he would definitely know more about these matters than he did. Of S.'s words. Listen. Or.
Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. If the dark color was really related to the hidden world, then there was absolutely no harm in becoming a guest. Luo Qingtong did not forget that she had to go to the hidden world to find news about her father and mother. Not to mention that her mother was from the outside world, she might not necessarily go to the hidden world. But her father, as a person from the true Spill continent, would definitely go to the hidden world to find her. Chapter 1202. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately said to the deacon of the dark-colored arena, "Okay." As she spoke, she raised her hand and took the guest elder token from the deacon. The latter also had a face full of confidence and didn't think that Luo Qingtong would refuse their request. When he explained to Luo Qingtong, the guest official token was already prepared. When Luo Qingtong agreed, he directly handed it over. Luo Qingtong looked at the two words, Yi Jiao, engraved on it and smiled slightly. You dark-colored arena people are really confident. Even the token was made on the spot. They weren't afraid that she wouldn't agree. We dark-colored arena people believe in our strength. Of course, we also believe in your choice. It won't be wrong. The deacon of the dark-colored arena said with a smile. Guest official Yi, take care. He said, slightly bowed to Luo Qingtong and then retreated. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong's heart was somewhat pensive. It seemed that the dark-colored arena people attached great importance to the one duel. They invited so many guest chamberlains to the hidden world to compete. It was likely that there were some benefits involved in this. But this had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong for the time being. According to what Yu Sihuang said, the last guest official one duel just ended not long ago. Even if the dark-colored people wanted to invite people to the one duel, it would take at least half a year. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately put away the dark-colored guest official token in her hand. Tong tong. Yu Sihuang swayed his hair and walked in front of Luo Qingtong. Just as he was about to say something, the young man smiled and used the sword hilt to press against the weak spot on his waist. Don't call me that disgusting. What tong tong? Luo Qingtong only felt goosebumps rising. Yi Qianxian didn't call her that. This Yu Sihuang could also do it. Luo Qingtong looked at his body swaying gracefully and amorous appearance and her lips twitched. She suddenly had a very strong feeling, and that was, agreeing with Yu Sihuang to travel with her, was definitely a very big mistake. Especially for her. Annoying. Isn't this showing off my daughter's delicate appearance? Otherwise, why would I dress up like this? Yu Sihuang threw the handkerchief in his hand at her with a coquettish face. He had a sad face before, thinking that his sister's idea of him dressing up as a woman was too deceitful. It destroyed his image as the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands. But now looking at Luo Qingtong's reaction, he suddenly felt that this idea wasn't bad. At least compared to when he and Luo Qingtong first met, the other person's face was not so cold and her face was Face's face. Yu Sihuang prepared to continue to try and get closer to her. It was rare that Yi Qianxian, that demon god, wasn't here, so he naturally wanted to seize this opportunity. Thinking like this, he suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with a bitter face and said, Tong Tong, you're too much. You're simply throwing me away after using me. You heartless man. I even helped you just now. Naturally, Yu Sihuang was talking about Elder Pan. Originally, he was still considering whether to kill the other person to silence him. Who let the other person see his current appearance and know his identity? But that Elder Pan was smart, directly sticking to Luo Qingtong. The latter said to spare his life, so Yu Sihuang didn't care. After the other person felt his murderous aura, he didn't dare to go back and talk about it. Chapter 1203. Yu Sihuang's current appearance was really pitiful. He looked exactly like a pitiful woman who was abandoned. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched fiercely. She wanted to ask him if he was addicted to acting. When she was free, she would find a brothel for him to act as a top courtesan. Only then would his evil and enchanting face not be wasted. Luo Qingtong thought like this. She glanced at him angrily. Then she said to Su Yu and the others, Let's go. Let's just let him act alone. She was not going to accompany him. As for the favor? She cured his heart disease before and saved his life. How many favors did she owe him? He was not done yet. And he wanted her to repay him? Luo Qingtong simply turned around. Su Yu and the others looked at Yu Huang with sympathy. Then they immediately followed her footsteps. Hey, such a beautiful girl. How could she fall in love with their master? Their master was a woman. He was definitely going to be a heartless man. The group of people did not know the identity of Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi. They immediately sighed in their hearts. But after knowing Yu Huang's identity, they suddenly felt like they were struck by lightning. It was simply overturning their worldview. When Yu Huang saw Luo Qingtong and the others leave, he couldn't care less about pretending anymore. Hey! Tong Tong! You wait! He hurriedly chased after them. Yu Xingqi carried the little white cat and followed behind him. He could not help but roll his eyes. He did not want to admit that this person was his brother. What should he do? The group of people walked out of the dark arena. Luo Qingtong was preparing to ask Su Yu about the recent situation in the western wilderness. Then she heard a burst of noise coming from the front. She looked up and suddenly saw a group of people walking over with great fanfare. The leader was a man wearing a white robe with bamboo embroidered on it. That outfit was elegant and graceful. But the other party's eyes were somewhat deep and cold. He didn't seem to be such a noble person. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and saw that the group of people were stunned when they saw them. Then, the leader of the group, a young man in white, hurriedly walked towards them. Su Yu, are you all right? I've received news from my subordinates that the Chung clan has asked Elder Pan of the Astonishing Heaven sect to act against the people of the heavenly diabolism. Thank you for your concern, young Master Bai. The matter has been resolved. Seeing this person, Su Yu frowned and immediately took a step back to avoid the other party's outstretched hand. The latter's hand was still in midair. Suddenly, anger and sternness flashed in his eyes. At the same time, there was also a deep sense of doubt. What's going on? Bai Jintong's eyes shone with a cold light. He was the one who brought Elder Pan and the Chung clan together. At this moment, Su Yu and Tianxie's people should be trapped in the dark-colored arena, with no one to respond to them, their faces filled with despair. When most of the people of the heavenly diabolism were killed, he would make a move. With the identity of the Bai clan, he would save Su Yu. How could he not be grateful to him? At that time, what could he do to him? Didn't he have no choice but to obey him? How did they come out of the dark arena? Who was the one who ruined his plans? Bai Jintang was furious. Chapter 1204. The matter here was almost over, so he had to return to his family as soon as possible. However, he was extremely unwilling to let go of such a beauty for no reason. However, Bai Jintang's thoughts were very deep. Even though he was angry, he didn't show it on his face. Even when Su Yu avoided his hand, he didn't show any anger on his face. I forgot that, Su Yu. You don't like it when I get too close. But Su Yu, I really do care about you. You can choose not to accept my feelings, but the Cheng family has tried to deal with you again and again. This time, they even invited a big shot like Elder Pan. Your heavenly diabolism alone won't be able to deal with them. Bai Jintang smiled at Su Yu. I'll say it again. As long as you agree to become my person, I can openly use the Bai family's power to protect them. At that time, I'll naturally ensure the safety of the heavenly diabolism people. As for the Cheng family and Elder Pan, I'll personally talk to them. Su Yu, think about it carefully. Your heavenly diabolism might be able to escape this time, but next time, you might not have such an opportunity. Don't you think so? As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong, who was standing next to Su Yu, raised her hand and seduced Su Yu, who was as cold as jade, in front of her. She raised her head and kissed Su Yu on the cheek. Then she raised her eyes and looked at Bai Jintang. I'm sorry, young Master Bai, but Su Yu is already mine. You're too late. Luo Qingtong listened for a long time and finally understood. It was obvious that this young Master Bai was gay and had taken a liking to Su Yu. Was he going to force her? Luo Qingtong didn't think it was a coincidence that he came at this time. She had seen the look in the other party's eyes just now. This time, the Chung family and Elder Pan came to cause trouble. Even if he wasn't the instigator, he definitely had something to do with it. She still wanted to use this to threaten Su Yu? Unfortunately,
He didn't know that she'd dealt with all the members of the Cheng clan. The one who did it was Elder Pan. Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Jintang indifferently, the smile on her lips indescribably frivolous and evil. Bai Jintang's expression finally changed. He looked at them and then looked at Su Yu, who was obediently being hugged by Luo Qingtong. He was furious. Never would he have thought that his meticulously planned scheme would be taken advantage of by someone else. What made Bai Jintang even more excited was the fact that Su Yu was lying in Luo Qingtong's arms without the slightest bit of struggle or unwillingness. That be *TCH. Previously, when facing him, he even pretended to be unable to accept it. But now, it was lying obediently in the man's arms like a dog. Bai Jintong's face was ferocious. However, he quickly adjusted himself. There were so many people here. He couldn't ruin his own image for the other party. Bai Jintang retracted his ferocious expression and then looked up at Luo Qingtong and the others with a sad smile. Is that so? Then congratulations to Su Yu and everyone from Tianxia. As he spoke, he took a step to the side with his fan and opened up a path. Please. Then I thank young Master Bai for his congratulations. Luo Qingtong didn't hesitate to stab him in the heart. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.